What does it mean to say, I embrace my shadow side? It's supposed to be what we call scary. It's the dark angel going, come on, take my hand. I'm not going to let go of you. But you have to feel the emotional imprints you have allowed to control you. That shit needs to go.
And that's a scary proposition. But when you realize how important it is and the benefits, then it's a necessity.
Yes. And I think the time of just having stuff come up during the day, it comes and it goes, is different than if you're going through a dark night of the soul. We rarely find God in the light because we're already there. We have to come to this deep, dark, evil world and be the light. We have to do it for other people if we can't do it for ourselves. That is a sacrifice. And we're greedy creatures. When you first asked, why is there so much greed? Let me read this. Let me read this, page 71. Greed, one of the 7 deadly sins, activates when we feel lack, real or delusionally perceived. It's a lower chakra safety mechanism serving the reptilian neurology to protect the self from losing things, losing people, losing activities. It's similar to a vestigial organ. It serves no positive position in the hierarchy of the heart of goodwill, which is the lowest form of love. Feelings of goodwill are heartfelt and overwhelm the reptilian brain's reactivity to this potential loss and fear. Charisms are the gifts, the favors granted to us by God through the Holy Spirit. These abilities allow us to access the great unseen worlds, allowing us the power to channel and meditate, which are the 3rd and 6th chakras. To mediate energy is not an emotional thing. To channel is the 3rd chakra. It can be very valuable. So these gifts come adorned with thorns. Their flowery scented graces cause disruption in the political correctness and dying modes of passing times. Expect not the lauds and cheers from others, for Christ comes to set the new against the old. Maitreya, the world teacher, stated that the past is evil, as is separation from other people. Moses, he was an avatar who so-called fell to earth to serve, to demonstrate his co-creation of superhuman events with God separating the waters. Jesus, as Christ, walked on the surface of the waters of the sea near Capernaum in John 6:16 through 21. He overcame the emotions. Water is the emotions. He walked upon it. That's the 3rd chakra, filled with love. The 4th chakra, represented by water. Did he really walk on the water? It's up for you to decide that. We assume so, but water is emotion. The huge bodies of water are unpredictable and treacherous, uncontrolled by man's fear of its power. When the man Moses joined with God's power to divide the Red Sea as it goes, so did the division manifest to demonstrate how we are challenged to divide our consciousness from the controlling, treacherous emotions and the loving calm of the heart and mind. And that's the 6th chakra, the Ajna center. The Hebrews, the people of that time, were not strong enough to divide the sea by their own power. They weren't at that time in history wise enough to lead themselves through the desert for 40 years. The avatar Moses did this for him. When Jesus achieved his fourth degree initiation and died his body on the cross, the era of powerlessness ended. Blood sacrifice was now done. Jesus demonstrated what we must do to achieve godliness by sacrificing this world, its addictions, its dramas, to detach and align our hearts and minds with God. It doesn't mean we all have to die on the cross, but to die in the ways of the world. Water from the side of Christ is represented in the Eucharist by the holy water, which the priests add to the wine, the blood of Christ, before the transubstantiation. During the transubstantiation, Christ transmutes the wine and host into the replicated frequency of his blood, his water, and his body. It is actually done. It is a mystery and it is real. Race 7, the age of Aquarius, is symbolized by the water bearer. We are seeing crisis in water on this planet and how water moves over the earth. Race 7 presages the next 25-year cycle of Capricorn. The fluids of the physical body, the blood, the cerebrospinal fluid, intra and extracellular fluids of the body are gradually transforming by humanity into a greater capacity to receive light from God. We will eventually become more light than matter. During Moses' time, during that 2,500-year age of Pisces, the fishes symbolize these energies of regeneration and sacrifice. When Jesus manifested the loaves and the fishes, it represented the body of Christ manifested in Pisces. We were being shown what we are required to denounce in the depth of the darkness of the soul, that silence of deep sea darkness. The monasteries, the rule of Saint Benedict to adore, and the quest to go within demonstrate God's hierarchy and eternality. Those times prepared us to direct the watery emotions towards the inner deep awareness. Now, these present Aquarian energies, the water bearer, and the 2,500-year cycle of Aquarius challenge us to carry those emotional waters as we manifest his works in the world. We can only feel these Aquarian energies, these New Age energies in a group, which is 3 or more people. As he said, when you are in my name, together I am there. To utilize the Piscean going within lessons of the last 2,500 years and retain our own boundaries of who we are now, that's our lesson. Our individualized skills in facing the group, honoring the group, will require control of the fluid and emotions that we make collectively into the group initiations. In the future, we will move collectively into initiation in a group. The collective gatherings in his name. We're currently experiencing mass violence, riots, anger, especially which is the acting out of the control of the violence from the fear of any unresolved humanity. You know, when I was reading that earlier, I always say, did I write that? But it brought up to me the idea of maybe Ebenezer Scrooge, the Christmas story, is an allegory. And I think the subject reminds me of those three ghosts encountered by Ebenezer Scrooge. And Ebenezer Scrooge, of course, is the face of greed and avarice, a lot of the deadly sins. He was a sourpuss. But I have found that the deadly sins come and go in cycles. Our past issues, the ones we're creating for a possible future, and those visiting us in the moment. The visitations are all connected to our interaction with the material world. And who rules the material world? The demonic. You see how that works? Why, why do we think when no one is around that we can do what we want and get away with it? You know, it's human nature. We're sneaky. How do we project these discomforts onto other people? And I just harp on this because in my latter years as a crone, when I can see, and I may live to be 120, I don't know, it's 72. I have done most of the work I needed to do in that area that I worked so hard on to learn to speak my truth and to take this word, this work and present it to the world as an option. So now I'm a crone. I give back and I give away, but I'm still a person and experiencing. When our 8-year-old grandson was here, I see him struggle with the same stuff I struggle with. The material world just doesn't end. What are your thoughts on that, Linda?
Oh, I have so many. Like one thing is how we need to be more connected and what we'll have to shift to get people to stop being so separate and start seeing humanity as connected.
Here's Weird Zoli's interpretation of that. I think we need a couple really good global crises. Now, the Maitreya work says that at some point, and we may be getting closer to that, the governments of the world will finally say, God, help us. We don't know what to do. Nothing is working. Nothing. I see a lot of that happening now.
We have spoken about that before, and I always give my cynical response that I don't have that much faith in the governments of the world. I think they're way too ego driven.
Well, of course they are, because they are us. We get the leaders we deserve. They're us. You know, I mean, it's just ridiculous. You wouldn't want me trying to rule something. I mean, who is doing this stuff? We look at them as gods and they act like gods. You never, the capitalism, socialism, and communism, which is right. I don't know. I'm here in America. You never elect a communist. You will always elect a socialist. The socialist says, I'm going to give you everything free. I'm going to make your life better. They don't give you a plan. They just tell you emotionally, it's going to feel so good when you can just sit back and smoke weed and drink and go do this weird shit. And it's fine with us because we don't have any boundaries. We have no plans. So the socialist gets elected, and what did they do? After a period of time, the programs they're wanting to give you for free run out of money. What do? They start taxing you more. Then they change the Constitution, the laws, to make themselves eternal leaders. And that's how socialism elected always becomes communism, which is we will take away all of your rights to give you the right of not having to do anything. So the leaders of capitalism, I don't think they're great. I happen to love what Trump is doing. Here I am in politics, but I'm a libertarian. I believe in let the people do what they want. Now, is he making mistakes? I don't know. I'm too dumb in that area. I don't know. So I try to stay out of religion, sex, and politics because we're just not going to agree on those things. Instead, let's look at the idea of greed. What happens when you don't have and you get? So the nature is to do two things, to hoard it or give it away or spend it. Three things. Those are the only three things you can do. What I was taught is if you get $100, save a third of it, spend a third of it, and give a third of it away. That's what I was taught. And I think that's pretty cool. I think
That's a reasonable way of doing things. It helps the world continue sustainably.
it is, but greed never goes away. I guarantee you, we all think that we're good people. We all think we're kind and generous people. But you can meet your opposite politically, sexually, or religiously, and they will convince you you are Satan on a stick. So, this is why we have to look in the mirror and go, who is that? I tell you, this is an experience I have. I don't know if y'all have had this. And I don't know if it has to do with my age. I'm not a UFO walk in. That's not it. But about the time I turned, let's see, I'm going to be 72 next April. This in a couple months. I think I was probably 69. I don't think or maybe 70. I literally woke up one day and looked in the mirror and said, who is that? I don't even know who that is. I haven't figured that out yet. Now, do I look different than when I was 20? Well, hell yeah, you're supposed to. It wasn't a physical thing. And I was looking going, something is different. Something is weird. Now, my woo-woo friends have all sort of explanations for that. My physicians say, well, it's age. I said, no, there's something else. And I don't know what it is, but I literally am not the same person I was the day before that happened. Now, what do I mean by not the same person? You will grow and you will change, but you will maintain your value systems. You will maintain what you're hardwired to do. So what changed? I don't know. Maybe I should ask the gargoyle.
That's a good idea.
And he picks his nose. That was so funny.
That's a wild world you live in. And I love the way you describe it without, alarm or fear.
Well, it's just, I've lived with this all of my life. I told you, my poor mom, oh my God, she was so wonderful. I heard her talking to Dad one day, and I was in third grade. Do you think we should get her some help? Dad's like, yeah. So they asked Uncle Doc, my godfather, who was my pediatrician, well, here's a psychiatrist I know at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. Send her there. Let's see what they figure out. So I'd go and they'd play Candyland, play these little games and this and that. And he said, this kid's kind of aggressive. There's nothing wrong with her, but she's just not who you think she should be. So this went on with a list of psychiatrists, my poor parents, for 20 years. Nobody had any weird diagnosis. I've had every psychiatric test there is, every personality test. It was very helpful. But it's just how I was. I got help because they thought I was weird. Now, maybe it was Birmingham, Alabama in the 50s. You need a passport to go there. So what I'm telling you is you will become who you are. You will develop you against the desires, wishes, and expectations of many people who love you, who really don't know what to do with you. I have a couple of friends, they're like, I don't know where this kid came from. He's 7. Like, is this an alien child? I have no idea. This is. Well, he's a different soul. He came out of you guys, but this isn't you. It's a piece of you.